Good evening, everybody. What an honor to be here with you tonight. Let me first of all thank you for coming out here tonight. And I want to thank our great Governor, Ralph Northam, and Pam Northam for the great work that they have done. So we still got a lot of votes to count. We got about 18% of the vote out, so we're going to continue to count the votes because every single Virginian deserves to have their vote counted. Let me first of all, I want to thank everybody here with us tonight. It has been a great campaign. I started this campaign 328 days ago. I have done an average of 7 to 10 events a day for the last 328 days. And it was great to be out here. And we opened up this campaign. When I kicked off this campaign down in Richmond with my great co-chairs, LeVar Stoney and Louise Lucas and Charnel Herring, to talk about how we needed to rebuild all of our schools here in the Commonwealth of Virginia and raise teacher pay and get every child access to a pre-K education and to get everybody access to broadband here in the Commonwealth of Virginia. And we have continued to take that fight throughout this Commonwealth. But first of all, I want to thank my family. I want to start by thanking my wife, Dorothy. As you know, she has been a champion, a true policy expert. And through her efforts, as you know, 13 million more meals served to needy children here in the Commonwealth of Virginia. And I want to thank my family. You know, you don't get to pick your parents, as you know. You're born into family, and they have survived campaign after campaign. And I want to thank Dory, who is here with me tonight, with her fiance, Nick, who's here with us tonight. Jack McAuliffe, who is here with his fiancée, Shannon, tonight. Sally McAuliffe. And Peter McAuliffe. So let's count all these votes, but let me thank each and every one of you over the course of the last 11 months for the doors that you've knocked on, the phone calls that you made. Just last weekend, 450,000 doors knocked on, 2 million during the course of this campaign. I want to thank you. The McAuliffe family loves each and every one of you. Thank you for what you've done for this campaign. And I want to thank my campaign staff. It was the greatest campaign staff ever assembled, and give them a great round of applause for all the great work they have done. But folks, as I said long ago, this is a different state. When Ralph and I were elected 8 years ago, we have made our state open and welcoming, but the fight continues. We got to make sure we protect women's right to choose here in the Commonwealth of Virginia. We got to make sure everybody gets quality, affordable health care here in the Commonwealth of Virginia. Everybody's entitled to a world-class education here in the Commonwealth of Virginia. And we are going to continue that fight tonight and every day going forward. So I just want to thank all of you for what you have meant to us. I look around this room and I see so many friends we've worked with for many years. This is a different state. We are the greatest state in the United States of America, and it's because of you. Thank you. God bless you, and let's go on and forward. Thank you.
It's 3.2 from the driveway of my house to your apartment where I am waiting now. Come on, don't think night's young. Let's go. NYC, Portland, Austin, Anaheim. Maybe not Anaheim. Keep an open mind. I'm just saying, baby, let's go. I don't care. Anywhere. Like a river connects to the ocean, this pavement
speak, if you could, beyond Virginia tonight, which looks like it's going to be clearly Youngkin's night, to go beyond Virginia to the rest of the country. This issue, building on this issue of American history, love of country, national unity, a whole panoply of issues that have come up over the past year during the reign of terror of Biden. How does this get replicated in other states?
Yeah, well, I think it's really simple. I mean, for the past 10 years or so, the left has been so focused on the politics of division, right? Putting people in different boxes, pitting them against each other to win elections. And to really overcome that, you need a unifying issue, and you need brave people to fight for that unifying issue. Well, what you have is that unifying issue being children, and the brave people being parents that fight for their kids' education and for a future where they can succeed as mentally tough individuals in the real world. And right now, I mean, what we're going to see in 2022 is that parents are going to continue to rise, and they're going to continue to power candidates across the finish line in elections. And, if Democrats can't figure that out, they are going to get wiped out like never before.
And Azra, and also across party lines, you cross party lines tonight to vote for Glenn Youngkin. Do you think there will be enough Democrats in states like Colorado and Arizona moving forward who will say, I thought Joe Biden was kind of a moderate, but he's just totally given in to the squad and the far left. I've got to look elsewhere. Do you think that's going to start happening? This is the beginning of that domino effect?
Absolutely, and I'll tell you who knows this. James Carville, he knows this. For months, he has warned the Democratic Party that wokeism was going to destroy the party, and he should have known better. But he misguided Terry McAuliffe, or they didn't listen to him. But all of these smarty pants, right? Larry Sabato, I'm sure over on CNN, Van Jones, all these people, they're trash talking us. I am a Muslim woman of color, and I am telling you, we are not white supremacists. If this is what a white supremacist looks like, then you need to go back to, you need to get a time out. All of you need a time out. And you know what? We're going to send you to your rooms because we are the parents in this country who are awake, and we are going to guide this country because we know that you are not leading us right now. And I absolutely believe, Laura, there are so many Democrats like me because this nonsense, woke baby, this is nonsense. And all it does is it's illiberal and racist. And we want peace and goodness in our world.
Ian, Terry McAuliffe's closing argument, you're going to be shocked to hear about this, was to bring in, well, a very, very, I'd say, compelling and attractive political figure. Watch.
What's happening right now is a bunch of misinformation because every educator knows parents must be our partners. And COVID has created huge anxiety and agita for everybody. We got to bring people together, not do what Youngkin is doing of pulling people apart.
Dogs across the country are covering their ears with their paws. Ian, that was Randy Weingarten. Again, they're not learning. They're going further to the left on the very issues that have helped, it looks like, sink Terry McAuliffe and bring the Democrats to the edge.
Yeah, when I saw last night that Randy Weingarten was campaigning with Terry McAuliffe on the night before the election, I actually thought that maybe McAuliffe was trying to throw the race somehow, because there's just no way that anyone in their right mind would have Randy Weingarten campaigning for them on the night before the election. I mean, she is so divisive that I know plenty of Democrats that cannot stand her. They kept kids out of school for a year when they didn't have on the campaign trail the night before. What were they thinking? I am convinced that he tried to throw this thing.
Azra, you were at the town hall we did, I don't know, when was that? I don't even remember, it's all a blur. But it was back in March. And I think we're just so people understand how far ahead of this you were and the parents behind you on school closures, on critical race theory. Both students and parents were speaking out. Let's play. Yeah, we'll have that in a moment. But just so people understand, this didn't happen overnight. This has been building during COVID when they would not reopen the schools for no reason, and students were sick of it. So here's what the Fairfax County parents told us. Watch.
There seems to be a lot of willingness right now among people in positions of power to sort of ignore the academic and emotional needs of our high schoolers.
Our experience at home with virtual learning was not good. It looked chaotic to me. And so we were very, very fortunate to see the handwriting on the wall, and we got our kids into private school.
Azra, they're all white racists, I guess, who are speaking out that? No, these were just parents like, we don't know what to do. Our kids are drowning. And here we go.
Yeah. And Laura, you were there with us. I want everybody who's watching this to know Laura Ingram was with us as parents. I remember the summer of 2020, Laura, when I first came on and I spoke with you, and I didn't even know about the machine of the teachers union then, but you gave us voice. And what it was that this machine used the tragedy of George Floyd's killing to decide that it was open season on our little bear cubs. That's what they did. Randy Weingarten, the teachers unions, these activists, they decided it was their time to cash in. And you know what? We stood up back from the summer of 2020. That's when it began. It was my birthday, June 7th, that year, that our principal sent us a letter at my son's high school and said we needed to check our privileges. The Asian, immigrant mothers and fathers from communist China and India. And you know what those parents did? The names like Bijan and Suburban, they stood up and they tried to have meetings with Ralph Northam, the school board, the education secretary. And you know what they did? They all canceled their meetings. They never had meetings with them. And a little headline here, Terry McAuliffe, when we tried to have him speak to our parents, he asked for $20,000 for 1 hour with our parents. And Glenn Youngkin did not ask for a cent. And so this is the real conscience that we need to invigorate amongst all of our leaders, realizing that we're human beings. We're not some white supremacist,
it's ridiculous.
White rage. We are good people.
You just brought something up, and Ian, I want to now project forward to, again, all these so-called moderate Democrats. John Tester in Montana, Mark Warner in Virginia, Joe Manchin in West Virginia, Kyrsten Sinema, all these people across the country who campaigned as non-squad members. They're sensible Democrats. What should they be taking from this tonight? Because it's not just the parents and the education issue. This is a menu, a cornucopia of things that have gone wrong over the past 10 months, 11 months in the United States. So what does Joe Manchin see tonight that might change his thinking going forward?
Well, I think that they need to look to their states. They need to get away from this national political, echo chamber that you see the AOCs and the squads in. They need to get away from the cancel culture moment that really kind of helped lead to this. I mean, look, you go back to Loudoun County. This is where it started back in March, where you really fired parents up when you had 700 people in a group trying to cancel others, right? Because they disagreed with them. Well, guess what? They own this. They helped make this happen. People are sick of it. People are sick of people, trying to cancel them because they're intolerant of different viewpoints. So if I'm Joe Manchin and I'm John Tester and Kyrsten Sinema, I'm looking at my state and I am trying to lead with them in mind, not with national politics and the pressure coming from the far left. Be a leader for your state. Stay local. All politics is local. Tip O'Neill said it. It's just as true today as it was then.
Well, a lot of people tonight are pinging me on my cell phone asking when Azra and Ian are going to start running for office, because both of you have made such an impact on this debate, and I thank both of you very much. I wish I was there with you now, both of you. Thank you. And joining me now is Victor Davis Hanson, Hoover Institution Senior Fellow, and Dinesh D'Souza, conservative commentator, filmmaker. Victor, your takeaway from tonight, we're going to check in with Bill Hemmer on New Jersey, which is fascinating as well. Victor.
Yeah, I don't think it was just local issues. Those were the ignition switch that set off this dynamite of the last 9 months. I think people looked at the status of the country, Laura, and they said, this is anarchy, this is chaos, it's beyond politics. We don't have a porous border, we have no border. We don't just have inflation, we printed the money with zero interest. We didn't get humiliated, we got terribly humiliated in Afghanistan. We didn't just have a chain supply, we deliberately created it by subsidizing non-labor. And I think they think, why did they do this? Why did Biden do this? Why are these people doing this? And when they were looking for answers, they said two things.
Kristen
You're
Davidson.
racist and Donald Trump's under every bed in America. And they wanted an inductive answer. They got none, and I think if they were smart, the Democrats would say, we're not going to listen to the squad, we're not going to listen to Elizabeth Warren or Bernie Sanders, and I don't think they're going to do that. I think they're going to say, we didn't charge them with racist enough, we didn't mention Donald Trump enough, we got to double down. If they do that, I think 2010 setback for the Democrats will look like a picnic. And just finishing very quickly, I think it's called the Republicans that the MAGA agenda is institutional.
So we're gonna let the votes come in, watch it as the totals come in. We're gonna put Fox back on so we can all track the votes as they come in. We love the way they're going. We're feeling good. Glenn's excited, Suzanne's excited. We want you guys to keep excited. We're gonna have a party, and we are gonna celebrate tonight. So thank you all for what you're doing. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being with Glenn with the campaign. We are gonna celebrate electing the next governor of Virginia tonight.
In every county, Dinesh, the DNC chair tonight, Jamie Harrison, made sure to really kind of listen to the parents' concerns about what's being taught in the schools or not. Watch.
The person interviewing me said that, yeah, critical race theory and that it's taught in public schools in Virginia. I'm like, which ones? This is a theory in law school. This is a dog whistle to divide people. They have become a party of fascism and fear. And those are the two things that really motivate them right now.
Dinesh, are they ever talking about how their agenda is making the country better, or is it just critical race theory?
Well, I mean, I agree with Victor that while the education issue was front and center, there was a critical issue in Virginia, this was a kind of stop the insanity message to the Democratic Party across the board. I mean, the Democratic Party has a razor-thin margin in the House and the Senate, but they're governing like this is FDR, like they own the country. And so I think this is a pushback against the insanity going on at so many different levels. Now, politically, this is, I think, such a devastating loss. I'm trying to sort of put it in perspective. It reminds me a little bit of the loss of the 2 Georgia Senate seats for the Republicans right after 2020. But in the case of that Georgia election, you know, there was a divide between the Trump kind of MAGA camp and the Republican establishment in Georgia, so it was a little bit of an anomalous situation. But here in Virginia, the Democrats were united. They went all in. Obama was there, Kamala Harris was there, Stacey Abrams. I mean, they pulled out all the stops, and even so, they suffered not just what looks to be a defeat, but a resounding defeat, and I think that has implications for 2022 and perhaps stretching all the way to 2024.
But Victor, I just want to keep going back to this Joe Manchin and Kristen Sinema and this reconciliation bill that is still hanging in the balance. Manchin has got to see what is going on in the country, and West Virginia went by Trump by how much? I've forgotten it was so much. So what is he doing? He should have shut this whole thing down, and Biden should come out tomorrow and say, do an Obama and after he got shellacked and try to work with the other party, but I doubt that will happen.
I think he's huddling with his advisors tonight, Laura, to do exactly what you said and do so in saving grace with his colleagues, but he knows it's suicide now to go along with this crazy bunch that the people repudiated. I think the message is also, they're in an echo chamber. They have Silicon Valley, professional sports, entertainment, corporate boardroom, Wall Street, universities, K through 12, but they don't have the people. They have all the leverages of communication and influence, but the message and their attitude and the meanness by which they deliver it has alienated the people. Without the people, you're nothing. And I think Manchin's going to figure that out. He already has.
Well, the gubernatorial race in New Jersey is a lot closer than expected. We're going to go back to Bill Hemmer at the billboard for the latest. Bill, this is fascinating. What can you tell us?
Indeed it is, Laura. Listen,
Kristen Davidson. And Donald Trump's under every bed in America. And they wanted an inductive answer. They got none, and I think if they were smart, the Democrats would say, we're not going to listen to the squad, we're not going to listen to Elizabeth Warren or Bernie Sanders, and I don't think they're going to do that. I think they're going to say, we didn't charge them with racist enough, we didn't mention Donald Trump enough, we better double down. And if they do that, I think 2010 setback for the Democrats will look like a picnic. And just finishing very quickly, I think it's called the Republicans that the MAGA agenda is institutional.
So we're gonna let the votes come in, watch it as the totals come in. We're gonna put Fox back on so we can all track the votes as they come in. We love the way they're going. We're feeling good. Glenn's excited, Suzanne's excited. We want you guys to keep excited. We're gonna have a party, and we are gonna celebrate tonight. So thank you all for what you're doing. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being with Glenn with the campaign. We are gonna celebrate electing the next governor of Virginia tonight.
check, check 1 2, testing check, check 1 2 3, mic check, check 1 2, testing check, check 1 2 3, mic check, check 1 2. What's going on?
I have no fucking clue. They keep calling me, hanging up. I'm really sorry to this out. Check this to make sure we're still on.
Mic check, check 1 2, testing check, check 1 2 3, mic check, check 1 2, testing check 1 2 3. Thank you, ma'am. Mic is good. Got it? House, all eyes are glued to these TVs. The crowd cheers every time they see themselves pop up on the screen. Thank you for getting that in. Guys, I have to tell you, the energy in here is exciting. It's contagious. It's the same energy that's been rolling on in this ballroom since the votes started coming in, and since basically the doors open for Glenn Youngkin's watch party. We're going to try our best to show you what's going on here. We are on a pretty packed press riser. I'm going to kind of duck out of the way here. You can see behind me. But it's a packed house. You can see all eyes are glued to the TV. The crowd cheers every time they pop up on screen, and they even got crazy during Terry McAuliffe's small speech earlier. If I go like if I go like this, can you see me? Okay. I know. I know. We're at 11:02, so we're close. Roll with the punches. You have to see the show. Thank you so much. All that kind of thing. Stand by. Nicole, I have to tell you, the energy in here, it's exciting, it's contagious, and actually it's really the same energy that's been going on in this ballroom ever since votes started rolling in and ever since the doors opened here at Glenn Youngkin's watch party. Now, all eyes in this ballroom are glued to the TVs behind me, and I'm going to do my best to show you what's going on here. It's a little packed on the risers. I'm going to step out of the way. But the crowd, they cheer every time they see themselves on the news coverage, and they even got crazier during Terry McAuliffe's small speech earlier. Now, Youngkin entered this race a business executive with no candidate experience, but we've talked with many supporters and even U.S. Representative Rob Whitman, who say they think he's a personable guy that will take Virginia to the next level. Well, we have to wait a little bit longer to see if he'll do just that. His press team got on stage just a few minutes ago to say the count continues. And celebrate they are, and they have been. We've got a lot of loud music going on. The cheers keep on coming, so we are going to see how these votes continue to roll in and how long this party goes on. David, Nicole? Thank you.
voters out to the polls. Beyond that, also, he tried making this as much as he could as a referendum on former President Donald Trump. While he denied to us that in fact was something that he was trying to do, there wasn't a campaign stop that he made where he didn't bring up the former president. So we're watching to see where we go from here. As it stands right now, officials say that there's still value. May hear from as it stands now, pretty empty ballroom. Brett and Martha, back to you.
58,000 votes apart in Virginia right now, with 95% of the vote in. Thank you very much, Rich.
Okay, let's find out where the votes are coming from in the race in Virginia. We also want to talk about another race with Bill Hemmer tonight. He's in New York at the Billboard. Let's start in Virginia, but we want to go to New Jersey, too, because that's very close.
We shall. Martha's a pro at that, by the way.
Yes, that's right.
New Jersey girl.
I tell you, the state of play in Virginia is that there's 3 specific counties where the vote is too much outstanding in order for us to make a call. I just want to take you down here, Brett. I would start down here in Virginia Beach, and we've got Youngkin with a lead here, about 9 or 10 points here, but our numbers tell us that 40% of the vote's outstanding in Virginia Beach. So it's, on the population rank, it's 2 of 133, so there could be a lot of votes out there. Whether or not that's a big blue dump, we cannot say, but we just said he's got a commanding lead, and then we stand by that. But you cannot make a call given 40% of the vote outstanding. The other one I would say up here, Prince William County up in the north, remember, Nova, Northern Virginia, heavily populated. We believe 2 at last check in Prince William County. There was about 40% of the votes still outstanding as well. By the way, heavy turnout in Virginia. Let's just state that from the beginning. Last November, you had more than 4 million Virginians vote in the presidential race. We believe there was well over 3 million voters who voted tonight in the gubernatorial race. Virginia's never been in that area before, so you're getting a lot more votes from a lot different areas all throughout the state. I'll just tell you one more place here. Take it down to Chesterfield. Remember, this is that big suburban county south of Richmond City. We still believe in Chesterfield there's at least 40% of the vote outstanding as well. But Youngkin's outperforming on a percentage basis here. He went in there thinking, you just win the county, 51-49. That would portend good things for the rest of the state. Well, he's done that. He's hanging on to that at the moment. Again, whether or not there's a lot of blue votes out there that are ready to take away that percentage is something we cannot say. So I would say, generally speaking, in the southeast, here in the central part, near Richmond, and up here across near Washington, D.C. and Prince William County. Those are the 3 we're waiting on. Again, they could tick in at any moment, guys. So that's what's happening in Virginia. Go ahead.
For 1 second, there's not a path here. I mean, the path is very narrow for McAuliffe to get those votes. I mean, we're talking really single-digit possibilities of somehow getting those votes that equal that number.
I would say he would have to run the table, specifically in those 3 large counties that I just referred to, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's turn.
All right, let's take a look at New Jersey, which everybody had pretty much written off and now looks very close. I think there's about 60% of the vote in New Jersey, Bill. So tell us what you're watching in my home state there.
A couple things here. The Republican Chitterelli really ran on the tax issue. And interestingly enough, that New Jersey is one of these states where SALT came into play, state and local taxes. That was one of the things that was eliminated in the Trump tax plan of 2017. And in really blue states like New Jersey and New York and Connecticut, this is a big deal in the Northeast because people thought, hey, where's my deduction? Well, it has yet to be included in the plan that they're building right now in Washington, D.C., but there was a headline that crossed earlier today that said SALT will be talked about and included for a period of 5 years. Just watch that story. I don't know if there was a minimum on it or a maximum on it. Listen, Republicans are going to say that's a tax break for the rich. That's going to be their attack angle. But there are moderate members of the Democratic Party in places like New Jersey who say no SALT, no dice. Now, they haven't had a vote yet, okay, but that's what they've been saying. I would come down here to Ocean County. Donald Trump did very well here just 11 months ago. Chitterelli seems to be doing pretty well, too, in Ocean County. Up here in Monmouth County, likewise. You talk about the Cook Report, et cetera, and those who analyze this state, they're thinking that the Republicans really got to run this number up to counter what's happening in the rest of the state. Maybe that's the case. Or maybe, like Virginia,
New Jersey is coming out to vote today in a way that we really did not predict or expect. Suburban Middlesex County, this was a county that Chris Christie won handily, like 15, 16, 17 points on his re-election bid in New Jersey. At the moment, Murphy's up about 9 points in Middlesex. We'll watch this.
What about Essex?
Essex County, here we go. There's a lot of votes still outstanding, guys. I mean, Murphy on the table.
This is Newark, New Jersey that you're looking at there. Obviously, very big population. And I think it's less than, do you have less than 1% of the vote in Essex County there, Bill?
Yeah, it doesn't even give us an estimated number, actually, Martha. So I would argue it's early on the night to see how Murphy is going to stack up here in Essex County. There's another place here, Bergen is where is it going to take you. The estimated vote-in is about 77%, and you see a lead here for Chitterelli over Murphy in the northeastern corner of the state. So I think it's really interesting, guys. I would just say, I mean, based on what we're seeing right now, there are pockets of Democratic votes in the state of New Jersey that have yet to come in, so we'll see what that holds. But honestly, New Jersey is not a state that we have studied.
Yeah.
I mean, Martha, you would admit that, right? I mean, nobody really thought this was on the board, and maybe it is.
Well, you know, through all the coverage, I've been saying, but are we going to cover New Jersey too? Because New Jersey could get interesting.
Yesterday, earlier this week, Martha's like, what about New Jersey?
What about New Jersey? I had to write it to open tonight.
Well, let me read this. The New Jersey gubernatorial race, this is the decision desk, is much closer than expected. Late into the evening, Republican challenger Jack Ciattarelli is outperforming his expected vote in key counties, though a significant amount of Democratic-leaning vote remains to be counted. While Phil Murphy was expected to easily win a second term, this race may be a cliffhanger. That's from our decision desk moments ago.
I would just finish my point on this. 2017, this is where Murphy's vote was. Okay, I mean, come to 2021, at the moment, is this going to stand? It might. I mean, if it did, you're talking about a red wave through 2 states. I mean, New Jersey clearly is considered to be a Democratic state, and Virginia that, I mean, for 12 years they've been talking about how they're just going more and more blue. I think Mo Alithi this past week was one of the few people who argued that Virginia was not a blue state. I mean, every time he came on the air with us, guys, he said, this is a purple state. And maybe Mo's right in the end after these results that we're seeing here in Virginia.
I would just mention one thing. In 2009, Governor Christie won by about 3.5% in New Jersey. So the spread right now between these two candidates is about close to 3%. It's about 3%.
I'll just give you one more thing here, guys. It's been a fun exercise throughout the night, fun in the loose sense, to look at the percentage of the vote, not real vote numbers. I mean, presidential elections, more people turn out, more people vote. But on a percentage basis, when you compare Biden and Trump, it was less than 11 months ago, right? So here is where we were last November in New Jersey. It's roughly 16 points, would you say, between Biden and Trump. And this is where we are in 2021. And we'll see what happens.
You know, the turnout also in Virginia was expected to be around 2.2 million, and it's over 3 million.
Yeah, and that
the turnout's been huge in Virginia.
Energized turnout, especially in the Republican and the south part of Virginia, outperforming Trump's numbers in a lot of those counties that were deep red, Bill.
Yeah, and I'm just looking at this, guys. I've been looking at the vote difference here. You saw it, right? You saw it shift? When we started this hit, we were well over 100,000 in favor of Youngkin over McAuliffe. Then it dipped down around 45,000 and just clicked up again at 86,000. That means that votes are coming in. So if you give me a minute here, I'll just go back to the 3 main counties, and we'll see whether or not this changes during the course of this particular report here. Okay, Youngkin dropped a couple points here, down to 54%, still outperforming what he expected to do in Virginia Beach City. This is 2017, just for comparison's sake, and that went to the Democrat. Biden, you know, he took it from Trump by about 5 points in 2021. That's where we are in Virginia Beach City. Just back to Chesterfield while I got you guys. Youngkin's got a lead, real vote, 10,481. Still hanging on to that 55% margin there in Chesterfield. Really is going to, if this holds up, the guys, it's going to be a significant story about how a Republican goes into a blue/purple state, however you want to characterize it, and wins without Trump being on the ballot, and how you go back in the suburbs and win that vote back. It's going to be a significant deal. Prince William up here, what the difference is, 29,000 raw votes in favor of McAuliffe, and that pretty much stands. Let me just check my note here on Prince William County. So going into tonight, the floor for Youngkin was right around 41%. That's remarkable. The floor for Youngkin, if he were to hold at 41%, that would indicate that he would do very well statewide. And I mean, look where he is, just 1/10 of a point below that. So maybe he reaches 41, maybe he stays there or goes lower, but that was the floor again as we started. And
Bill, you've got the different races in this Commonwealth. Potentially Republicans pick up governor, lieutenant governor, attorney general, and the House of Delegates.
That's right.
As you look at the numbers right now. And again, we haven't called this race yet, but we probably are getting pretty close as these numbers, the path is narrowing. But you're looking at something that is larger than just one candidate.
Yes, listen, I'm studying, I'm trying to see through the lens of the issues over the past 10 months. And, you know, Virginia is very unique. You know, they have it in their Commonwealth Constitution to have essentially an open seat every time you vote for a governor, because it comes a year after a presidential election, and no governor can run for re-election. I mean, like Terry McAuliffe, he can run after his term is over, but he can't run for a consecutive term. So effectively, you have, in Virginia, you have an open seat in the November that follows every presidential election. That is just truly unique. And then you start to get a measure about how the country's feeling, about the direction, et cetera. Look, we in our poll that came out a week ago, we found the enthusiasm gap to be 10 points between McAuliffe and Youngkin. It was like 79-69. Well, if that's where the energy is, and this is as close as the race is right now, 2.5 points. Well, 10 points on the enthusiasm margin is significant. And I would argue at the moment, that's probably the reason why you're seeing the McAuliffe-Youngkin split here. That's one thing to think about. I think the other thing, in rural Southwest Virginia, I've showed you guys this a bit earlier today, and again, I'm just talking about percentages, not raw votes. But look where Youngkin is, right? I mean, 87.6.
Yeah, margins down. That adds up.
It's really incredible too. And you know, you go back and you look at the Trump vote, and I mean, he was doing gangbusters down here, right? He's at 83, Brett, right? He's at 84. Tazewell, my favorite, he's at 83. And in 2021, you know, Youngkin exceeded those percentages in those counties. I just think I find it very impressive.
Yeah.
The fact that you can flip Montgomery County and do what you're doing right now in some of these suburban counties, they have to feel pretty good. And in a razor-tight race here now, all this stuff matters. Even the small counties down here in the Southwest, and clearly the bigger, most populated counties in the northern part.
Bill, we'll head back as we get a little bit more, and I think we're going to get some more soon, we hope. We'll head back to the billboard.
See you then.
Both states.
Yeah, I mean, these are very close races, and they're tightening up as we watch these final numbers come in. So let's take a look at what some of the folks were saying as they came out of the vote today in Virginia. Shannon Bream is taking a look at our voter analysis, and as you sift through it, this late point in the evening, Shannon, what's really standing out for you?
Yeah, we are looking, Martha, at a couple of key issues and seeing what bubbled up. Our Fox News voter analysis survey shows us that a range of different concerns added up to a very close race tonight. Virginia voters told us there were three main issues in this race. The economy, followed distantly by the pandemic, and then education, which has really taken a lot of attention the last couple of weeks. McAuliffe won pandemic voters by a wide margin, but Youngkin closed the gap there in a lot of ways by winning decisively on two other issues. Youngkin is a former businessman. Economy voters certainly responded to that. He won them by a margin of 25 points. As for those voters who their top issue was education, and the Washington Post said that's become the top issue here, Youngkin won them by an even bigger margin, topping McAuliffe by 40 points. Now, some of that, no doubt, was due to this debate over critical race theory. A quarter of voters cited CRT as the single most important factor to their vote today. Those voters went for Youngkin by more than 2-1. And remember, this is a state that went for President Biden by 10 points just a year ago. Hold an unfavorable view of former President Trump, meaning that Youngkin is trying to walk a very fine line here. His successful formula, if he wins, is going to be about this: winning the vast majority of people who still view President Trump favorably, while also winning over nearly 2 in 10 Virginians who have an unfavorable view of the former president. So they might not like President Trump, but they voted for Glenn Youngkin anyway, in a number that could make a difference here. Many of Youngkin's best groups were those who went for President Trump by wide margins last year. Big wins for Youngkin with men, whites without college degrees, rural voters, and white evangelicals. Now, Youngkin has picked up some momentum tonight with some big swings from 2017. One great example of that is seniors. 4 years ago, they went for the Republican candidate for governor by just 1 point. This time around, they're breaking for Youngkin by about 14 points. And one last thing, a majority disapproves of the job that President Biden is doing in office. That's certainly not been helpful for Terry McAuliffe. They elected to campaign together, but something also bad for Democrats. Nearly 2/3 think the country is on the wrong track. Potentially, that could be more bad news for McAuliffe as we now wait and watch to see who the winner will ultimately be. But, you know, at one point, Brett and Martha, there was this discussion within the McAuliffe group that they weren't going to have folks like President Biden come out. They didn't think it would be helpful. They had all the big names come out the last couple of weeks, and we'll see where it falls tonight. But when voters tell us in this analysis they don't feel good about the Biden administration or the policies or where the country's going, that may not have been the right choice for the McAuliffe camp. We'll know, I think, soon.
Well, here's a crazy fact.
Yep.
There is a third candidate in this race in Virginia, Princess Blanding.
Yep.
She received almost 22,000 votes and 0.7%. So, I mean, that's something.
Yeah.
It's 51 to 48.3. Shannon, thank you very much.
Yep. That could be a factor. If this continues to narrow in Virginia, it's fascinating to watch this. So let's get a live report on the New Jersey governor's race that we've been talking about. Democratic incumbent Phil Murphy trying to hold off the challenger, Republican Jack Ciattarelli, and Eric Shawn is covering that race for us. He's at Murphy headquarters right now in Asbury Park, New Jersey. What's the mood there, Eric?
Well, the mood can be summed up by the song they just played, Martha, which is Bridge Over Troubled Waters. No, they wouldn't play that if that wasn't the feeling here. Some people have already started to leave. The mood is down because there could be a major upset in the making here in New Jersey. Jack Ciattarelli running for governor quietly the last 2 years. He's a former New Jersey Assembly man. He basically went after some of the major issues that have bothered New Jerseyans for years. Taxes, running commercials against incumbent Democratic Governor Phil Murphy on the high tax rate here in New Jersey. That has doomed previous Democratic governors in the past who have only served one term. The last time a New Jersey Democratic governor was reelected to the State House twice was back in 1997. Also, the subject and the issue of school curriculum and what parents can learn and what children can learn from parents has come up in this race. Murphy has been criticized by Ciattarelli over what is being taught in some of the local schools. You can hear some of the cheering now. We expect Lieutenant Governor Sheila Oliver any moment now to come down and give an address, probably saying it will be a late night. Hold on, they're hopeful, waiting for the Democratic votes to come in from some of the heavily Democratic counties around New York City, not fully yet in. Speaking of New York City, that city now will have a new mayor, Eric Adams, a former NYPD police captain who was against defunding the police. He ran on the #1 issue of public safety and crime. He faced Curtis Sliwa, who is a New York legend, popular radio talk show host, the founder of the Guardian Angels. Both said crime and public safety are important and the number one issue to bring New York City back. Here's what they said earlier tonight at their campaign headquarters.
We are so divided right now, and we're missing the beauty of our diversity. We have to end all of this division of who we are.
I will tell you this, in the aftermath of Bill de Blasio, who has single-handedly destroyed the city that we love, single-handedly, I am pledging my support to the new mayor, Eric Adams, because we're all going to have to coalesce together in harmony and solidarity if we're going to save this city that we love.
So right now we're waiting for Lieutenant Governor Sheila Oliver to come to the podium. You hear some of the cheering behind me to make remarks. She'll likely say it's not over, as Yogi Berra said, the famed New York Yankee and New Jersey resident. It ain't over till it's over, and it's not yet over. Martha, back to you.
Might not be over for some time.
It might not be over for some time, Eric. Thank you very much.
You know, also interesting, Boston elected its first woman, Asian American, Michelle Wu, as mayor, for the Boston mayor. So a lot of interesting developments. Minnesota with the police referendum saying, you know what, we don't want to defund the police, we want more police.
We want more police, as we've heard from people in those areas where the homicide rate has been skyrocketing in Minneapolis and in the environs around Minneapolis. So that is an interesting outcome there. And as we continue to watch these New Jersey race and Virginia race, and as you say, there was going to be a female mayor, the first female mayor of Boston either way, two women running against each other, but Michelle Wu is the winner in Boston. So.
Let's talk more about some of the key races, Virginia, New Jersey, this election night. Joining us, political consultant Kevin Walling and Guy Benson, political editor at townhall.com, host of the Guy Benson Show on Fox News Radio. You know, Guy was on your show earlier today, and there was a lot of indications that Youngkin was going to do well. The motivation, the momentum was there. We haven't called this race, but boy, it sure looks like he's going to pull this off. Your thoughts on this day and what it means?
Well, it's a three-point race with 96% of the vote counted in Virginia. So I feel like we haven't called it yet, but the math and the path for Terry McAuliffe, the Democrat, is basically more or less non-existent at this point. And talking to a lot of Youngkin folks, top-level people on his campaign in recent days, they said that their numbers were pretty consistently for the last few weeks at +3. And look where we are right now, +3. I went to that Loudoun County rally last night, the final rally of the campaign for Glenn Youngkin. I was struck by a few things: his discipline, his messaging, the way that he appealed to different swaths of voters in a way that I thought was really, really savvy. And I noticed driving in, there was a huge line of cars to get in, probably between 1,500 and 2,000 people there, and there were pickup trucks with Trump stickers, and there were Volvos with middle school honor roll stickers. And it struck me, if that is a coalition that Republicans can replicate, not just in Virginia, which was Biden +10, but in other states that are even more closely divided, in 2020, for example, that is a potent combination, and looking for candidates who can do that, I think, is job number one moving forward for the Republican Party. And I would encourage a lot of purple state Republicans to study Glenn Youngkin, his rhetoric, his messaging, his restraint, his discipline. Study all of it, because what he's done in Virginia is pretty extraordinary.
Yeah, it's very interesting to watch. Kevin, I want to bring you in here. That coalition that seems to have formed in Virginia and school issue-oriented parents and blue-collar Southwestern Virginians. What do you make of it?
Yeah, Martha, it's a great question. You know, I think in every election it's either a base election or a persuasion election, and this was certainly a persuasion election, and Glenn Youngkin ran a really strong campaign, speaking as a Democrat. And I think one of the key stories coming out of this evening will be the notion of Biden-Youngkin voters, folks that delivered the majority of congressional districts in Virginia to the Democrats in 2018, repudiated Donald Trump in 2020 in most of those suburb counties, as you've talked about throughout the night with Bill on the wall, and now